Let's get started with our first news. Cory Sandhagen says he will surprise people in the Murad fight. He's set to challenge Murad for the bantamweight title at UFC 320 and believes his approach will shock a lot of fans. In an interview with MMAfighting.com, Cory said, "I'm not gonna buy into the narrative that Murad's this cardio machine, this unbeatable guy on a tear. I'm not buying any of that. I fully plan on going out, beating Murad, and wearing gold around my waist. That's what I believe in my heart." He explained that fatigue affects everyone's decision-making and reactions. When we're tired, we don't move as quick and we don't make the best decisions. Murad knows how to pull people into that state, but even in the early stages of his fights, it's mentally stimulating, similar to how I fight. There's always something happening, always something the other guy has to react to. Cory praised Murad's technical skill, not just his cardio. He's a focused and engaged fighter. Fighting someone for 25 minutes when they're always engaging, pulling you into deep waters, that's a pain in the ass. But that's what I do to people too. I've been working on that already. One of Cory's biggest strategies is staying mentally ahead. A major key to beating Murad is making sure I'm the one leading the dance. I've got to be ready to mentally keep up with his pace, especially when tired, because everyone gets tired. I need to make sure my brain is ready for 25 minutes of Murad. Technically, he's a super wrestler and now a submission threat too. But beyond that, he's not the most dangerous guy in the world. He stressed the importance of staying sharp. I've got to be prepared for takedowns, for submissions, stay focused, and keep leading the dance, not let him take control. Reflecting on past fights, Cory admitted he made mistakes trying to avoid wrestling too much. When you fight someone like Murad, fighting tired isn't fun. You can do it, but it's not ideal, especially for athletic fighters like Sean O'Malley. Khabib Nurmagomedov had the right attitude, like, "We can wrestle, I'm ready for this." I didn't have that mindset. I ran from the exchanges against Umar, and it stopped me from doing what I normally do. He said that fight taught him a big lesson. You can't run from a good grappler, you have to accept it. When you do that, things become a lot easier, and I think I'll surprise a lot of people with how I fight Murad. I'm excited for that. Before moving to the next news, we have one quick request for you. We're constantly working on improving our content to earn your love and support, and that's why we truly appreciate it if you could take just a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your support really helps us grow and bring you even better content every single time. And of course, don't forget to leave your opinion in the comments. Let us know what you think we should improve next. Your feedback means a lot to us, and we're always listening. Moving on to some very sad and heartbreaking news involving Shavkat and his family. Earlier this morning, reports surfaced that shook the MMA community, revealing that Shavkat's wife and child were involved in a serious and tragic car accident. According to multiple local news outlets in Kazakhstan, his home country, the incident took place on July 27th and has left the entire MMA world sending thoughts and prayers his way. From what we've learned so far, the accident occurred when the driver of the vehicle they were traveling in reportedly lost control. The car, a Toyota Land Cruiser 200, veered off course and flipped over during the crash. This devastating event led to the deaths of 2 individuals who were in the vehicle, while 2 other passengers, including Shavkat's wife and his young child, sustained injuries. The Regional Department of Health later confirmed the tragic news and released an official statement addressing the situation. They revealed that Shavkat's wife and child had indeed been involved and were immediately transported to the Shu Municipal Hospital. Both were treated for their injuries and were reported to be in moderate condition at the time. Medical staff followed standard clinical protocols of diagnosis and treatment to ensure they received the best possible care. Fortunately, it was later reported that both Shavkat's wife and child were stable enough to check out of the hospital later that same day. While this is a relief, the emotional toll of this incident cannot be overstated, especially given the lives lost. Details are still developing as this news only broke yesterday, and we may learn more about the exact circumstances surrounding the accident in the coming days. What we do know is that Shavkat's 3-year-old son was injured during the crash, but thankfully his injuries are not life-threatening. His wife also suffered injuries, but early reports suggest she will recover. However, the tragedy is compounded by the fact that 2 of his wife's friends, who were reportedly traveling in the same vehicle, did not survive the accident. Their names and further details have not yet been publicly disclosed, but local authorities have confirmed their passing. This heartbreaking incident is a sobering reminder of how fragile life can be, even for those who seem untouchable inside the cage. Shavkat Rakhmonov is one of the most respected and undefeated fighters in the UFC, but at the end of the day, moments like these highlight that family and life itself are far more important than anything that happens in competition. The MMA community, fans, and fellow fighters have already begun sending messages of support and prayers for Shavkat and his family during this incredibly difficult time. Losing friends and seeing loved ones hurt in such a sudden, tragic manner is something no one can prepare for. Our thoughts and heartfelt condolences go out to everyone affected by this incident. Now, let's move on to another interesting story that's been making some noise in the MMA world. Aspinall, the UFC interim heavyweight champion, recently shared some unfiltered thoughts about Michael Chandler's fighting style. And let's just say he's not a fan. According to Aspinall, Chandler burns through way too much energy at the beginning of his fights, and he finds it absolutely shocking that Chandler still fights that way, even with the amount of experience he has inside the octagon. Aspinall didn't hold back during a podcast appearance when he said, I don't want to slag him off, but it's some like Bay 80 fight IQ. His tone wasn't overly harsh, but you could tell he was being honest. He wasn't just taking a cheap shot, he was pointing out what he sees as a repeated tactical error from a veteran fighter who should know better by now. He went on to explain further, saying, "That's what we said going into it, lad. Obviously Chandler is explosive, he's fast, but his fight IQ is not good, you know what I mean? Because he was going in there, picking you right up off the floor, which gets a bit of a scream from the crowd, slamming you, and you were going, yeah, get straight back up." I'm like, you could have saved half the energy and been on top, controlling the fight from there. Tom also highlighted the issue of energy management. It's weird because he's obviously a really FAT guy, he said, but if you go out there and sprint for 5 straight minutes, no one's gonna be fit after that, are they? It's a fair point. No matter how good your cardio is, if you're going 100% from the opening bell, you're bound to gas out sooner than later. And in a sport like MMA, that kind of pacing can cost you the fight. Aspinall added more criticism by describing Chandler's all-out style. That's what he does. He just goes out there, throws from like here, swinging wild. Everything he does, he's picking up full blasts. It's just mad for someone who has that many fights. I'm just surprised. It's clear that Aspinall believes someone with Chandler's background and experience should be a bit more strategic. Being aggressive is one thing, but blowing all your energy just to excite the crowd or land a highlight reel moment isn't always the smartest move, especially in high-stakes fights. Well, it didn't take long for Michael Chandler to respond. He clapped back at Aspinall on Threads with some sarcasm and shade. Chandler wrote, "Didn't that big goober say this like 3 years ago?" Then, bringing up Aspinall's own timeline issues, he added, "And waited as long for John as I did for Conor," after he criticized Emmy for waiting for Conor. Cool. So while Aspinall called out Chandler's fight IQ, Chandler responded by questioning Aspinall's consistency. Just another day of verbal sparring in the MMA world. Let's see if this war of words ever turns into anything more down the line. Now to another bold and attention-grabbing statement. Arman appeared on the Overdogs podcast over the weekend and made a massive challenge that's turning heads across the MMA community. If the two ever square off inside the octagon, Arman wants both fighters to put up $500,000 each, with the winner taking it all. This isn't just fight hype, it's a serious proposal, and Tsarukyan didn't hesitate to put it all on the table. During the interview, he said, "No, I can put the BATs, I can put like $500,000. If he beats me, if I beat him, he's gonna give me $500,000. I can put that." Okay, it wasn't just talk. Arman sounded absolutely confident, calm, and ready to back up his words with a real high-stakes offer. He further clarified his terms and made it clear that he's willing to go old school with it, a straight-up handshake agreement. If he wants to make that, I'm down. We can shake hands and fight. If I lose, I'll give him $500,000. If he wants, we can make that bet. If he really believes in himself 100%, he's gonna say yes for sure. That's a direct challenge. No games, no bluffing. Just two men putting their money and reputations on the line. This kind of boldness isn't new to Arman, who's been climbing the lightweight ranks with a quiet intensity and brutal skill set. But the $500K bet is clearly intended to test Ilia's confidence and force a reaction, and fans are already buzzing. Could this kind of high-stakes wager actually happen? Would Topuria accept? But Arman didn't stop there. After throwing down the gauntlet to Ilya, he shifted gears and took aim at another big name in the division, Paddy Pimblett. Arman didn't hold back in criticizing the notion of Paddy being considered for a lightweight title shot, calling it absolutely crazy. "You gotta delay him from the rankings even," Arman said firmly. "He's not even deserving to be in the top 10. He then broke down Paddy's recent competition and questioned the quality of his wins. He beat the last 3 guys. It was Chandler, he had 3 losses. It was Bobby Green, he had 4 losses. It was Tony Ferguson, he had 8 losses. He shook his head at the thought of Paddy being in the title conversation. That's crazy. And you want to bring that guy to fight for the title? It's just, I don't know. You shouldn't even mention his name. He doesn't even deserve to have his name mentioned." Strong words from Arman Tsarukyan, challenging Ilia Topuria to a winner-takes-all bet and slamming the hype around Paddy Pimblett. One thing's clear, Arman isn't here to play games. He wants the toughest fights, the biggest stakes, and zero room for hype without merit. Now, let's move on to another interesting story. Speaking after the fight, Rainier was clearly emotional and full of gratitude, but he also wasn't shy about his ambitions. "Oh man, fighting a legend like Rob, that's something special," he said. "And I just said this, but I think I fought the best Rob I've seen in years. This guy is so fast, so tough, and he did so well. I really had to dig deep to get the win this time." It was clear that De Ridder had nothing but respect for Whittaker, a former champion and one of the most respected fighters in the sport. But make no mistake, this was not just about getting a win. This was about making a statement. Rainier knew that beating someone of Rob's caliber would prove he belongs at the very top. He continued, "Yeah, it seems like it, huh? 4 fights, almost 4 finishes, so yeah, it's been a crazy year so far. That kind of pace, 4 UFC fights in under a year is already impressive. Add in the fact that he nearly finished all of them, and it's no wonder people are starting to talk about him as a legitimate title contender. And I think I might be able to get one more in before the year's over," he added with a smile. That shows you just how hungry and motivated he is. While many fighters would be happy to sit back and wait after such a big win, Rainier wants to keep the momentum going. He wants to stay active, he wants to fight. Reflecting on his rise, De Ridder said, "I'm a top 5 fighter in the world. That's a crazy thing to be able to say." And he's right. Going from a debut to top 5 in such a short amount of time is something rare. It doesn't happen often in the UFC, especially not in the middleweight division, which has long been filled with veterans and killers. He finished by saying, "We'll see where everything lands in the division over the next couple of months, but I'm ready to challenge for a title." Rainier De Ridder is not here to take part, he's here to take over. With a win over Whittaker and a top 5 ranking under his belt, the UFC may have no choice but to give him that shot sooner rather than later. Finally, let's move on to one of the sport's all-time greats. Khabib Nurmagomedov has once again made it very clear he has absolutely no plans to return to the UFC. While rumors and fan hopes have persisted ever since he walked away from the sport, Khabib has consistently shut down any speculation about a potential comeback. Recently, though, he offered fans a bit more context and insight into why that door is now completely closed. Back in 2020, Khabib stunned the entire MMA world when, following a dominant win over Justin Gaethje, he announced his retirement. He was only 32 years old at the time and still deep into his prime. Even more shocking was the fact that he had only just begun what looked like it could have been a long and historic title reign at lightweight, but just weeks after losing his father and lifelong coach, Khabib made a personal and emotional decision to leave the sport, honoring a promise to his mother not to continue without his father by his side. Since then, the questions have never really stopped. Every few months, someone, whether it be a fan, a fellow fighter, or a media member, throws Khabib's name into the conversation about a comeback. Could he return for one final fight? Could he be tempted back with a huge payday or a legacy-defining matchup? But while speaking recently on The Hustle Show, Khabib offered a very honest and grounded perspective that further cemented his decision. When asked how long it would take him to get back into fighting shape, he didn't sugarcoat anything. "You mean fighting shape? No, 2 to 3 months wouldn't be enough. I'll be 37 in 2 months in September. If we're talking purely hypothetically, right? If we're being honest, it would take at least 6 months. He then explained what people often misunderstand when it comes to getting in shape for a fight. Because when you're getting in shape, sometimes people make this mistake. They look at a fighter and say, "Oh, he looks in great shape," but that means nothing. How he looks means nothing. What matters most is how many sparring rounds he's done and who he's sparred with. Khabib made it clear that being in great physical shape doesn't automatically translate into being ready for a real fight. Everything else, lifting, fitness, running, it means nothing, he said. How much you lifted, how much you benched, our sport isn't about running, bodybuilding, fitness, or CrossFit. None of that. Our sport is you step in one-on-one, get in your stance, and you fight. It's clear that Khabib doesn't take the sport lightly, and he refuses to treat a comeback as just a spectacle or a way to cash in. To him, it's either full preparation or nothing. So yeah, if Khabib was ever going to come back for one more fight, that window has long passed. From the way he speaks about it now, it's not just a decision, it's a closed chapter. One of the greatest to ever do it is at peace with his legacy.